I have none other than the Honorable Minister for Power, Coal, Renewable Energy and Mining, Mr. Piyush Goyal, joining us all the way from Varanasi, where he's campaigning very hard for his party in poll-bound Uttar Pradesh. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Goyal, for being with us. In some sense, a lot of your party people, and you may seem to suggest that you stand vindicated with the quarter 3 numbers or the fact that fiscal year 17 will be at 7.1% according to the CSO. But this data seems to suggest that the economy has been completely untouched by demonetization. Isn't that surprising?
Supriya, not at all surprising. I didn't hear the rest of your comments of your panelists. I just heard the last couple of sentences of Rajiv also. I feel very surprised that eminent economists, in fact, no less a person than the former Prime Minister, could not see the elementary logic that why demonetization will not impact the economy, particularly when the attack was on black money and corruption. Obviously, it's the informal sector which was to get affected. Where was the problem in the formal sector? And the formal sector would only get benefited by more and more of the informal sector moving into the formal sector. So to my mind, demonetization can only expand the GDP, can only help it grow further. And I think more and more people, I'm going around the whole country meeting with business persons, they're understanding the virtues of going legitimate. They're appreciating the government's efforts to give a level playing field to all. These numbers only vindicate our position that the informal sector is now going to move more towards the formal economy. The little bit of a blip that we had expected for the first few months happened in the informal sector, but as more and more come into the formal economy, we will only see the economy get better and better from here. These job losses that some people often talk about, there is no information or no validation of that data. It's a hearsay that we hear in many places. And the numbers actually give you a greater insight. In some sense, there may be some impact on the real estate sector and the professional service sector where there could have been some job losses. And that is reflected in the numbers, where we see that the trade, hotels and transport and communication services has slightly fallen by 0.2%, and financial and insurance, real estate and professional services have seen a fall from 9% to 6.5%.
Sure.
Other than that, agriculture has grown, mining has grown phenomenally, manufacturing has grown, electricity, gas and water supply, which is an indicator of what the state of the economy is. If electricity is being sold, very clearly agriculture, domestic and industry, all consumption is holding its stead. It's growing by 6.6%. Construction is growing against 2.9 by 3.1%. That's infrastructure sector.
Mr. Goyal.
So very clearly there's an across-the-board improvement.
Sure.
And it is vindicated by these numbers. And it certainly shows that this country is moving towards the new normal.
Right. Mr. Goyal, good evening. Sandeep here from the studios in Mumbai. No one is disputing the long-term upside of demonetization, but your own chief economic advisor, even the finance ministry had made it clear that there will be a near-term downside. The CEA for its projection said that this quarter growth is likely to be at around 6.5%, which is why people are baffled at this number. If you spoke about some sectors, auto sector reported its poorest performance in 16 quarters. Cement output came down. The core sector for the month of January is contracted to 3.5%, which is why somehow one gets a feeling that the micro and the macro isn't quite adding up.
Sandeep, it's so logical. Everybody got carried away in the propaganda that was sought to be created that this will have an impact on the economy. I have been consistent from day one, from 8th November, that this can only have a positive impact, not a negative impact on the economy. And you must also appreciate that this is on the back of revised estimates of 15-16. Released in January 17, which has revised the GVA last year from 7.2% to 7.8%. So very clearly this growth number is on a larger base of 7.8 growth last year than 7.2. So it very clearly demonstrates that the economy is doing well. We are once again re-established as the fastest growing large economy in the world. Today, China was at 6.8%, I think. So I think there is no dispute in the fact that even the best of economists read it wrong, but a rustic common man like me could figure out that the Prime Minister is on the right track. This fight against corruption and black money can only do good for the people of India. A
Right.
series of elections in state after state have vindicated our position. The people of India are happy with demonetization. The results
Mr.
now
Goyal?
have borne fruit to what we are saying. And Uttar Pradesh is going
Mr.
to be the
Goyal,
next
I
big
think Varanasi does
result
this to
where we will
people.
come with a
Mr. Goyal, I think
two-thirds
Varanasi
applaud.
does this to people.
Sorry?
I understand that, and I'm going to come to you because you call yourself a rustic common man, which you certainly are not. But, you know, will you admit to me that perhaps Q3, I take your point, but Q4 and Q1 of next fiscal is really when we will see the pain, because that's the lag effect of demonetization. Some amount of hit will happen, and some of the highest quarters in your government have admitted to that.
So fair enough, we are prepared for that, and we understand that for a long-term gain, often one has to take a little pain. I have said it to you many times that when you are creating a superstructure where you want decades of prosperity, just like when you create a superstructure building, you have to dig deep, clean the muck, and create a solid foundation. Our government has brought in highest levels of transparency, highest level of clean governance into the economy. And we are creating a superstructure for the economy. We are creating a foundation on which we will see decades of prosperity. The people have understood that. I think it's time the economists and media also started appreciating it.
Mr. Goel, I know we may come across as a bit of a skeptic, but so it's a job to ask these questions. The other data
Yeah,
that is little interesting is the one on gross fixed capital formation. And for the benefit of our viewers, that's obviously an indication of the net investment in the economy. To put it simply, you would appreciate the fact that for quarter after quarter, we've seen gross fixed capital formation contract for a whole host of reasons, indicating that no real investment or private investment wasn't happening. Isn't it ironical that in the quarter where there has been demonetization, the gross fixed capital formation figure goes up from 3.2 to 3.5%?
Sandeep, again, it's very, very logical, very simple to understand. When we came into government in 2014, you remember the kind of situation we inherited. We had lakhs and lakhs of crore rupees worth of projects, which were stressed, stalled, stranded. Some didn't have environment clearance, some didn't have land, some didn't have a market. After I look at my own sector, electricity, we had almost 100,000 megawatt of projects halfway stranded. What we did is bring them all on track, start sorting out their problems one after the other, start clearing the bottlenecks. Now that's a period the nation will have to go through. You can't have more investment on the back of old investment which is already suffering the pain of bad governance of 10 years of the Congress government. So we have been able to unclog the mess that we inherited. It took some time during which the gross capital formation possibly showed a dip. And now as things are getting unclogged, look at my renewable energy sector, for example. With such attractive prices, there's a renewed enthusiasm to invest in that. With the road sector having sorted out all the damn mess that the previous government had given to this country, as more and more people are seeing light at the end of the tunnel, are seeing fresh projects being bid out. We are now seeing an upswing in the road sector. Similarly, on the health services, similarly on improving the various infrastructure projects, be it in railways, be it in the civil aviation sector. And this is all investment which is going to yield results for the people. But until the old capacities got used up or got sorted out, no sensible man was going to invest. And that's the smart thing that Prime Minister Modi and his government did. We did a structural root cause analysis. We prioritized the problem, sorted out the past mess that we inherited, and we are now poised to attract both domestic and international investment in a big way. Look at the FDI numbers. Never
Mr. Goyal,
numbers on FDI.
Mr. Goyal, I agree with a lot of green on your report card, but I think the big red on your report card is job creation. And despite these numbers proving that the economy was largely unscathed by demonetization, on that front, it's not a very encouraging picture. So my question is on job creation, and I'm also voicing the concern of a few economists and eminent people out there who believe that these numbers itself may make the government complacent on perhaps pushing and making job the #1 priority.
Supriya, there are two things in this. First of all, I'll urge you to look at the unemployment numbers in its totality. The other day, there was a question answered in Parliament, and when I saw the answer, the stark truth came out. From 2011 to 2014, there was a serious increase in the unemployment rate in India. From 2014 to 16, the unemployment rate hasn't gone up significantly. So I would urge you to first establish these by actually looking at the unemployment numbers. 11 to 14, you look at that block, and then see the 14 and to 16 block. You will find the unemployment number increasing more in the last 3 years of the UPA, point one. Point two, the nature of jobs in the country is increasing. Gone are the days when a government job or a job in a manufacturing unit, an established job which is reflected in the numbers, was the determinant of national prosperity. You heard Mr. Bill Gates the other day. In the changing dynamics of the world, new jobs come from newer areas, from newer entrepreneurial ventures, which don't necessarily get reflected in the job number, but get reflected in national wealth, national prosperity. And therefore, the new age that India is moving into, and in fact the world is going in, be it through the fourth generation of technology, be it through automation in every field almost, you will find that jobs in terms of structured formal engagement may not grow as rapidly as the informal job creation through entrepreneurs, through startup and stand-up initiatives, through newer technology initiatives. And that's going to be the changing profile of jobs in the future.
All right, Mr. Piyush Goyal, we'll leave it at that. Appreciate you joining us on the phone line live from Varanasi.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.